Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Going to be touching on
Alrighty, guys, welcome
Delphi
back
murders.
to the Sleuth Intuition.
The cash cow, confidential defense invoices and receipts made public. The poll question of the day: did they milk little Ricky even though he wanted to confess? Your choices: they have proven to be unethical. No, defending oneself is expensive. Human frailties, what can you do? They cared for Rick, not money. So I think this is how today is going to kind of play out. So it looks like some documents were recently made public. This case has now been concluded through trial and sentencing. The court appointed to the public defender to timely perfect the appeal. The state public defender filed the notice of appeal on March 11th, 2025. This court previously sealed numerous court orders at the defendant's request regarding ex parte motions for funding filed December 8th, 2022 and granted December 12th, 2022. Appellate counsel has requested access to some of those pleadings and orders. Court grants appellate counsel's request and unseals the orders from January 24th, 2023 through March 4th, 2025. So it's basically just a whole crap load of receipts and invoices. But before we get into that, we're going to go to my notes. Let's go to the notes. Hey, we got a super chat from Vala Hawks. Thanks, Vala. I appreciate that. Welcome in, Silas. Very stingy. Very. DC Primetime. Shout out to Texas. What up? Christine. Rescue. Good to see you guys. What's up? Beyond the Evidence. Good to see you. Diamonds. What up? Good afternoon. Patty. Pug named Ralph. What up? Ralph. Mark, what's good? She Warrior. Is that thumbnail a bull or a cow? See, I don't naturally have a dirty mind, but I have to remember a lot of you do. So when I have a picture that's not really Andy, obviously it's not Andy, it's his face posted on somebody. He's not literally grabbing a cow. But when you use the words like milking, people can be kind of gross about it. But obviously that's a milk cow. It's not Rick, obviously, right? Because that milk cows are females. It's just his face plastered over an actual AI created milk cow. So calm down. Well, have a great day at work. Don't let the man get you down. How you doing, She Warrior? Where is the 40K? Who cashed that cow in? 40K, that's what they were making into each. Each one of his defense attorneys was raking in about 40K a month. And I couldn't help but wonder why. No shit, Richard Allen couldn't confess, Once he confesses, you turn that faucet off. But then again, might not be a fair assessment, right? And remember, everything is just my opinion on this channel. I don't know shit. I'm a college dropout, not even a good college at that. I'm just a very opinionated guy who created a platform for a lot of folks who didn't have a voice. That's how I felt. Well, guess what? Now we have a voice. A little bit of a voice, DC, don't try to milk a bull. I see you got a big bucket of milk there, buddy, but we don't have any milk cows. What's up, Julia? So you got Rick saying, "Hey, I think I did it." At one point saying I did do it. Actually, the first time he confessed, that's the way he put it. Like he told his wife, "Hey, babe, I need you to know that I killed," and he called them out by name, Abby and Libby. She said, "No, you didn't." So he was preparing to confess, and then in steps Brad and Andy, and that kind of all goes away. Return the Diamonds. Lawyers cashing in on the gravy train for sure. Never had Richard Allen's best interest at heart. Think that's why Gold tried to get them thrown off the case. Possibly. We're going to look into that. Oh, we have another super chat by Tam B. Thank you so much. Very generous, Tam B. Says, hello, everyone. Has this been a ride or what? This has been ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. DC, how is Patrick Westphal doing? Does he think it was Richard Allen? Why the fuck would I know what Patrick Westphal's doing? So you interview one person and all of a sudden you guys are supposed to be best pals. Patrick Westphal's doing great. We were playing poker last night. He slept over on the couch. They thought it was going to be easy and make them look good. What's up, Frank Meister? Sensei, we do not train to be merciful in this dojo. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Thanks, DC. Yeah, I wasn't talking to you directly. It's just everybody asks me that. Of course he wants a copy of the Odin report so they know what they have on him. Julia, slumber party with Westfalls. That's cute. Yeah, he kept trying to put sticks over me when I was asleep. I don't know what the fuck that was. Sure don't not the sleuth dojo. Stephanie, welcome in. All right, let's get serious. Let's get serial. I notice a lot of people out there getting triggered lately. Just because you guys out there are uptight doesn't mean we have to get uptight, right, guys? Richard Allen could have refused attorneys at any point. I think Baldwin and Rosie planted seeds in his head, swayed him, saying that they could win and his whole life would be ruined if he confessed. Well, I think they did it by proxy. Their target was Kathy. They, the dependent personality disorder. Control Kathy, they control the client. Therefore, they control their client. They control the length and the money flow, right? And that's a dirty accusation, and I'm sure that if they were to watch this, they'd be extremely offended by that. Well, at least out on the surface, maybe, right? So I think we should investigate that ourselves and see what the likelihood of something like that might be. I don't know if there's any missing money. I didn't see anything of that. I didn't see any missing money. You wouldn't even have to. You wouldn't even need to take money that way. send it to Baldwin, and then he can distribute it however he wants. You'd have to kind of audit his firm to figure out what happened. Hey, we got a flex. Look at that muscle. Thank you, She Warrior. Where's the 40,000 the defense collected? They collected a lot more than that, Stephanie. That's what Baldwin collected in December. Just alone. And we'll get in that too in a second. First, I want to break this down. All right. So there are no widely documented murder cases where a defense attorney faced legal or ethical trouble, specifically for preventing a client from confessing as desired. Attorney-client privilege and ethical obligations generally require lawyers to prioritize their client's interests, which can include advising against confessions that might harm their defense. However, attorneys cannot force clients to remain silent, and clients retain the right to testify or confess if they insist, provided it aligns with legal ethics. For example, no perjury, no suborning perjury. So no bribing folks to say what you want them to say. Sensei, if it goes to trial, I'd imagine they would get paid more than a straight out guilty plea with no trial, but I don't know. I'd imagine they'd get paid more than a straight out guilty plea. Oh, absolutely. If they stepped in and Richard Allen's like, yeah, I want to plead guilty, and then they facilitated that guilty plea, that's it. They get paid for that month and whatever it is that they did, and that's it. It's over with. But if they drag it out like they did, I mean, they raked in a shit ton of cash. Not only that, they got to reach out to all their friends and like include them, and they all got checks, multiple checks. Who wants a ride on the cash cow? Don't worry, it's not a bull. Can't believe the amount of people saying he sounds like a bridge guy. I absolutely does. You mean doesn't? He absolutely does. Same gravelly voice, and monotone. Yeah, it's funny because I go watch those videos, right? I'm like, oh, look, it's one of these, one of the members of Richard Allen's fan club. And they play the audio and they compare it, right? The Down the Hill to Richard Allen's newly released Confessions. And I'm like, what the hell am I missing here? It sounds just like him. But then again, we got to go back to the old experiment, right? Are we hearing brainstorm or are we hearing green needle? Honestly, if you're thinking green needle, guess what you're going to hear? Green needle. But if you put it into your mind that you're hearing brainstorm, when you play it, it's going to say brainstorm. But if you think green needle, it's going to say green needle. It's really fucking weird. So if you go into it and you're thinking Richard Allen, and then you remember how Richard Allen sounds, and then you hear it down the hill, you're like, oh shit, that sounds just like him. But honestly, if you trick your mind and think, I don't know, go listen to Anthony Greeno or something, and then listen to the down the hill stuff, you'll be like, oh shit, it sounds like Anthony Greeno. Wait a minute, it sounds like Ron Logan. Wait a minute, is that Keegan Kline? It's whatever you put in your head. Brainstorm or green needle. Is either lawyer involved in his appeal? Nope. DC Primetime says sounds like him to me. Absolutely. But you have to, there's always a variable out there. You have to consider all of the things that might play a role. And the human mind can definitely play tricks on you. It's basically confirmation bias, right? If you go into something looking for it, you're just going to cherry pick everything that kind of fits into that narrative. But honestly, you can do it with anything. Let's say you took all that discovery that was received by the defense team to defend Richard Allen by the prosecution, and you just, I don't know, played pin the tail on the donkey with different narratives. Instead of Odinism, it's witchcraft. Boom. And then you go through the discovery and you start looking for everything that kind of fits that narrative. And when you have a million items and you have a handful, when you just present the handful, that's like, you're like, damn, he has a handful of items. But yeah, that's like taking one of the blocks off the fucking pyramid. You don't have shit. What are you going to do with that? That's like 0.01%. And that's what they did with the Odinism stuff. But you can do it with anything, really. But as a defense attorney, I think you'd want to pick the one that fits in the most pieces. Hey, rescue all the dogs with the super chat. Sleuth, you were one of the first creators I followed, not only on the case, but on YouTube. So relieved the journey ended the way it did. Thanks for staying with it. I had no choice, but thank you, rescue. Remember, guys, I'm just as invested as you were. I just got tired of nobody listening to me. I got tired of the way people were being treated on YouTube. We have this huge community of people that just care. Some are trolls, some are evil, and they have like a morbid thing about it. But some of us are just really curious. We're really scared about how something like this could happen. We're terrified to watch the legal process through it all. Like, it's all very terrifying. You know what I mean? There's nothing about this that is soothing. Even to watch Richard Allen go through this whole trial process, watch his attorneys potentially milking him, not in a disgusting way like some of you think, but literally like a cash cow. You know what I mean? So I think if I'm going to vote on the poll, it's human frailty. I've read that Kathy Allen has it. Oh, I need to go way back down here. Sorry, guys. But yeah, in my opinion, it does sound like him. Oh, do yeah, I guess you're right. Wait, I thought all cows have horns. I'm pretty sure all cows have horns. What's up, Lulu? Okay, let's continue on here. Okay, so once again, no perjury. Cases where attorneys get in trouble typically involve misconduct, like suborning perjury, which means, bribing, giving somebody money to tell a lie, breaching confidentiality, or failing to provide competent representation. We ran into that. Not for blocking a confession. So that would be extremely rare, if not, the first time ever documented attorneys doing that. But I feel like it's something easy to conceal. You would have to admit your intentions, right? And also, there could be like some kind of an unspoken thing, like, yeah, we're gonna milk this shit. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink, wink. Below are relevant considerations and examples of attorney misconduct in murder cases, though none directly match the scenario of not allowing confessions. They're still interesting. And then we'll get into the hypothetical stuff. Wallace says, I think KA knows deep down, but her denial is so strong, and I think the defense team messed with that also, giving her hope where there wasn't any. Well, some of the things that they're worried about, false confessions, right? They know how that happens. They know, and false confessions are a real thing, but you have to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, some people are wrongly convicted, and sometimes 25, 30 years down the road, they finally are able to prove that or convince people of that, and then they're let go. Does that mean that we got to go back and let everybody out of prison because, this one apple was falsely convicted? No, you don't compare this one apple or this outlier to the oranges. You leave the oranges alone and you release the apple, right? So you can't compare what's going on with Richard Allen to these other cases and things like that when they're just the facts don't match, right? They're not comparable. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Wow, what's up, Charles? That'd be funny if you could. Diamond, she still has her videos up about Kelsi, and she's still talking about Kelsi. Any video that's made about Kelsi and pointing the finger at Kelsi, she's in the comment section calling those people brave. Mark, that's hilarious. What's up, Cooter? Cooter Lake Deliveries. Interesting. Cheek pinching granny dropping by on my birthday. Happy birthday. Making my rounds on the YouTube streets. Hope the channel is doing good. Well, don't go anywhere, Cooter. I got something for you. Before you leave, let me hit you with a little candy for your birthday.
Happy birthday!
Woo! I don't know. Every time I watch that, it makes me happy. So hopefully you have a great day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Welcome in, welcome in. Davey Breedlove, how you doing? Up, somebody's got their hand up in the back. Who is that? DC Primetime. Aaron. How many individuals have to be corrupt for Richard Allen to be innocent and have been framed? Well, one thing is when you accuse a police officer of being corrupt, they can go to prison for that. So I just say, hey, if there's as much evidence as there is against Richard Allen, against them, and why you think they're being corrupt, like, do you think they planted evidence, planted the lost tip? Like, what specifically is it that makes them corrupt? If you can put all of that, what we see on the back of Richard Allen, on their backs, there's a lot against Richard Allen, you guys. So I guess evidence, DC. Yeah, just show me the evidence. We'll put it up on the screen. I don't have any problem with that. Like I said, we'll go anywhere that the information takes us. We ain't scared. We ain't pro police. We ain't pro prosecution. We ain't none of that. To media because of the crimes he keeps separate. Yeah, you might be right about that. If he confesses, maybe he has to confess to all of it. Maybe there's more. It's a good point, Vala. Remember that Richard Allen's mom tripped and broke her nose on the courthouse steps. No. That's not what happened. Holman That's just the story that they put out to the public. Holman pulled her into a back room and beat the shit out of her. At least that's what I saw on somebody's YouTube channel. And it looked legit, guys. You know? And I'm pretty sure the down the hill is Holman. Sounds just like him. I sing that video convinced me. Been here since the day the girls went missing. That white beard is what we see in the pic. There's a YouTube content creator. Well, the YouTube channel name is The Domain. He did a comparison. It's fucking really good. I know you can't. I know they're subjective. You know what I mean? But makes you wonder: was that some kind of a white bandana underneath his chin, or is that just his weird little hippie beard? So it's not like that's going to be inadmissible in court or anything, but man, it's fucking interesting. You can't do what the Domain did with, a picture of Ron Logan or Keegan Kline or anything like that. But you take that photograph of Richard Allen, you put it the way that he did over. I mean, sheesh. I wouldn't go betting your kidney on it or anything like that, but man. It's like the further along we get on this, the more and more of those side by sides become more convincing and triggering for others. The more convincing it gets, the more triggering it becomes for certain types. But like I said, just like The Voice, green needle. Is it brainstorm or green needle? The answer is it's probably all pareidolia. Not just one dolia, but a pair of dolias. Yeah, there's still some up there. Maybe not. All I know is that she's definitely in the comment section running her mouth. People think he's been framed. I'm not saying he wasn't framed. I'm just saying, like, that's a hell of an accusation. Kind of like a hell of an accusation to accuse Richard Allen of killing 2 girls. Like, why would you do that? Well, we have 3 witnesses. So, did they see him? No. But Richard Allen admitted to seeing them. He gave us a great description of them. And they said the man they saw was the man on the bridge. So guess what that means? Richard Allen is the bridge guy. And it's not like Richard Allen just said, oh, no, I passed some girls. I don't really remember them. But he gave the investigative team a detailed description that they wish that one of their eyewitnesses would have gave them. Thank goodness for Richard Allen. And it makes you wonder, why was he keeping such a detailed account of the people he was bumping into? Because he was up to no good, guys. It's like seeing a guy walk past you and then afterwards somebody asking you, okay, what was that guy wearing? And then it's like somebody saying, okay, we're going to do it again. And then I'm going to have the same guy walk by you. Well, this time you're going to be ready. You're going to be like, okay, you're going to be taking notes. Okay. Then you're going to have a detailed description. That's kind of like what Richard Allen was doing. He already knew that he needed to kind of keep tabs on what the hell who was coming and going and who might see him, or, he was just making a detailed list, taking notes. But people that are just going about their day, it's really hard to look back and recall. Everything's all clouded. You didn't know you were supposed to be keeping track of somebody who was out there committing a murder, potentially, right? Well, since the conviction, Vala, Bob Mata says that he's guilty. He came on my channel and said that. Tony N. In the Richard Allen interview, when the detective said Richard Allen wouldn't let his wife join the search party. Never heard that before. Yeah, very interesting. Tan B, we're pro truth, absolutely, and we'll go wherever that goes, wherever that takes us. What's going on, Cheeks? Welcome in. I think Richard Allen is guilty. He confessed, and I believe him. Well, you have to be cautious about that. You know, false confessions are a real thing, so context is important. Beard seemed dark and gray, but this white, whoa, I see it now. What's going on, Phil Bond? Some people think Carroll County, ISP, FBI, U.S. Marshals, who also were in on the investigation, are all conspiring to frame little Ricky. And at the same time, it makes you wonder, like, why? Why frame little Ricky? Why frame him? Like, why take that chance? You're breaking the law to frame this guy. Well, if you're a conspiracy theory, the only answer is because you did it, right? That's why a lot of people go on these tangents about Freemasons and secret societies, and the police are in on it, you know, shit like that. Because that's really the only answer that you would frame. The only reason you would frame Richard Allen is because you yourself are responsible for the crime. And people will say, well, that's why I've stepped down. They forced Ives out, and Nick McClellan stepped in so he can be the conductor on this runaway train, because he's really guilty. Him, Shane Evans, and Kelsi, and, you know, whatever, all this stupid shit. It's a fantastical story. You know, it'd make for a great Hollywood script. And some people have a knack for tying these things together. That's kind of what defense attorneys are really good at. They take all the information that's available out there, and then they piece together a narrative. Well, a lot of people out there following true crime and true crime content creators are great at that. You know, the only problem is they get too invested in it, and they don't put it up in the air for discussion. They applaud themselves, and their ego gets in the way, and they said, hey, I did all this hard work. I found these things that nobody else could find. Therefore, it must be the truth. But just because you find a gem doesn't mean it's a diamond, right? Or a ruby. It could be quartz. Fucking sapphire. Little Ricky and his little Dicky. Well, don't give him country music. I wish K.A. and his mom would have let Richard Allen talk instead of ignoring and covering up what he was trying to confess to them. He kept saying in one of the phone calls, everyone is scared to tell me the truth. Yeah, I think he was talking about them. And they were like, no, we're going to get somebody to talk to you. Blah. He's like, no, I'm talking about you. Nobody will be true. Will let me tell the truth. Nobody will tell the truth. And I believe that that was an extremely selfish move. And that's just my opinion, right? It's almost as if he confesses and it's made public, his confession is her confession of being a woman that married a murderer. Like, she will live in infamy more so than she is now. So when he says, I killed those girls, what he's really saying is, hey, babe, you married a child killer. And she's saying, no, I didn't do that. She's, no way I did that. She's not saying no way you did that. She's saying no way did I do that. There's no fucking way I did this. Because him being guilty of killing 2 children makes her guilty of marrying the killer of those 2 children. And he's going to do whatever she says. And that's why Brad and Andy, hypothetically now, guys, just in my opinion, targeted her. If they were going to prolong this whole thing, it was going to be through her. Gaining control over her. because it's obvious that Richard Allen's going to do any and everything that Kathy says, or even, he's going to react based on the way she's reacting. That's how he's going to make his choice. That's not me saying that. That's the doctors, right? Remember? He was diagnosed dependent personality disorder. That's not me saying it. All they did in this hypothetical theory, his defense team, that is, they exploited that for monetary gain. Potentially. We're going to take a look and see if something like that's even possible. I believe they denied it. Baldwin denied it during one of his interviews. He was asked that question. Some people think that you wouldn't allow him, and he, I don't know, maybe we can get a body language expert in there. So if you guys want to put up about $5,000, that's what Indiana paid for. We can get us in a body language expert, and we'll see if Baldwin was being honest. It's okay for people to be wrong and then admit they're wrong, but for many content creators to still spew lies, nonsense, and crap is a sign of something else malicious in their souls. I mean, you can sum that up to ego, Egotistical. It's all justifies logic and reason. Better have some good evidence. That's what I'm saying. Hey, if the cops are corrupt, we can't let them get away with that. But why? Why? You told me they were corrupt. You brought me out here. I came all the way out here looking for the corruption. And all you have is some stupid, ignorant comparing of apples and oranges. I thought we were going to compare apples to apples. I came out here with some apples, and you brought me to the orange groves. This isn't an orchard. The hell? Ha, big fish. Wahahaha. Pair of dolias. I've seen many convincing Ron Logan comparisons on this very show. How dare you? Good to see you, Fishy. Yeah, nobody likes to be wrong. I think that's across the board. I think we can all share that. The commonality. Baldwin is the world's worst defense attorney in recent history. I don't know. I thought he did a great job. Depends on what was he doing. Was he milking the cow? If he was milking the cow, he did a great job at it. Other than that, no. I mean, we didn't hear anything about Richard Allen's alibi. Nobody set the tone for what he was doing the day before. And then the prosecution came in and somewhat set the tone by showing those disgusting videos of Richard Allen in prison, touching himself, acting crazy, eating his own shit. Like, that didn't help. Like the jury, they're not doctors. All they see is crazy. They don't see a sick man under psychosis. And remember, you can be guilty of the crime and still be under psychosis. Hey, what's up, Timmy? Focus like a laser on possible eyewitnesses. Absolutely, Timmy. Remember, we had the ski mask incident too. Maybe that's Ricky. Diamond says, I'm never wrong. That's true. Yet. So I don't have to worry about my pride being hurt. You have a perfect record. Sleuth, that's such a good observation of Richard Allen's eyewitness account. You're the only one on YouTube who has pointed that out. We don't need the credit. If they really wanted to frame somebody, why not many of the RSO they've investigated over the years, or Ron Logan? I don't know. Maybe there's an answer for that. Maybe we should investigate that. Why did they go with Richard Allen if they were going to set somebody up? A lot of folks say the motivation was so Tony Leggett could become sheriff. And they call the tool mark evidence junk evidence or pseudoscience. A lot of people would disagree with that, including myself. I think I have a pretty good understanding of tool marks and the way metal works. It's a lot like a fingerprint. Davey said, what? Mata said he's guilty. Yeah. He said he's guilty, and he attests family blamers. He doesn't have a license to practice law. Yeah, I think he might be retired from that. The cash grab is real in this case. Okay, let's get back to business here. So, key points: ethical constraints under the American Bar Association's model rules of professional conduct, Rule 1.2 and 3.3. Attorneys must respect a client's decision to testify or plead guilty, but cannot assist in presenting false testimony. If a client insists on confessing, the attorney may advise against it, but cannot obstruct the client's autonomy. Potential trouble. An attorney could face discipline for coercion, for example, pressuring a client against their will, or ineffective assistance of counsel in their actions prejudice the client's case. However, no high-profile murder case explicitly cite this issue. So if you guys can find any cases where attorneys were reprimanded for doing something like preventing their client from confessing so that they could milk the cow, so to speak. And some of the related cases, most documented cases involve attorneys facing scrutiny for other reasons, like mishandling evidence or conflicts of interest, rather than blocking confessions. And then we'll get into notable murder cases with attorney misconduct. And these are not exact matches, by the way. Just want to point that out. Love bomb. I'm a loser. I have no friends. Can't even get a ride to church. Was hospitalized for hurting myself, and this is my only outlet. Say what? Cyber, I can't get behind 60 false confessions. One maybe, but 60. I don't know, Cyber. We've done a few extensive investigations into false confessions. It's a real thing. I mean, in one day, I watched 2 investigators convince a man that he had killed his own father. Not only that, he was driven mad. He was literally taken into a psychological hospital for a 72-hour observation. And his father wasn't even dead. So, I mean, this is something, it's not even nuance. Like, this is just something that people brush aside. False confessions are a real thing. Hat, return the diamonds. We're all Richard Allen. Yeah, well, that's probably why they're doing the podcast and consulting and all that kind of stuff. Can't talk about cash grab without talking about all of them. Gray Hughes, the 70K podium, and yes, the defense. Who's Gray Hughes? I don't know who that is. Sounds like a color palette. Can you show me the Gray Hughes? Should be illegal for people to be on YouTube and talk about law and justice when they're not even licensed to practice law. Ha! That's like me trying to act like an investigator, though. You know, it's like those damn armchair detectives. Who do they think they are? I don't know, but we can fucking mobilize. I'll tell you that much. It's dangerous for people who genuinely believe that they are receiving a good education and or advice from somebody who claims to be an attorney when they are not. Well, for me, it's not about diplomas, it's about ideas. You know, I don't care how many diplomas you got hanging on your walls. I could care less. If your ideas are shit and the words that are coming out of your mouth are shit, I don't care if you're smarter than me, if you think you're smarter than me. I don't think I'm smart first and foremost. But if that's your stance, I could care less. Because for me, it's about ideas. You know, you have experts in everything. Some experts who are egotistical maniacs will try to get their hands on you and bring you into the deep water of their expertise, right? But everybody's an expert in something. It's when you take them out of their comfort zone, when you start to expose who they really are. Stephanie says, I couldn't believe Richard Allen was a sergeant in the National Guard. When he told the cops his rank, I almost fell off my chair. There's one phone call where he's talking to his wife and says, did you tell my mom I did it? And she slips up and says, yes. Oh, don't worry, Big Fish. I found it. I was watching a video and I was kind of scrolling through the comments and he had commented. So I took that opportunity to click on his Facebook, or excuse me, his YouTube, and then unblock him. Consider it done. Gross. Yeah, hell no. Never heard of her. Yeah, sorry about that the other night, Big Fish. I didn't mean to like offend anybody or whatever. Private investigator. Hey, look, we're free to do whatever the fuck we want. If we want to play investigator on YouTube, guess what we're going to do? We're going to play investigator on YouTube. What are you going to do about it? Are we going to try to be ethical? Yeah, hell, we'll try. You know, we're ignorant as hell, but we're learning. I don't care. Are we retired law enforcement? No. So what? You're not a psychologist. So what? Fuck your degree. College dropouts, assemble. I really don't care. What are your ideas? I don't have any ideas, but check this out. Look at all of these degrees on my wall. Yeah, it looks like about 90 grand. Now, what do you got to show for it? Let's hear it. Well, I cheated most of my way, so there's that. Carol Miller, welcome in. I heard Richard Allen also confessed to killing his granddaughter, and he doesn't even have any grandchildren. Exactly, Carol. But that's where the cherry picking comes in, and that's why context matters. And that's why I also mentioned you can be guilty of a crime and then fall under psychosis and then think you're innocent, but also being coerced. Or to think you committed the murder in maybe in a weird way, or that there's more victims, but it doesn't mean that this person wasn't the guy on the bridge committing that murder. It just means that he's a fucking crazy guy. You know, he might even be confessing and thinking that he's innocent now. You know, I called it avant-garde the other day because that's what it reminds me of. You know, an actor playing an actor who's playing another actor. Stephanie told Leggett he was suicidal for 7 years, before that, after, during the murders. Yeah, basically it's like a couple of years before the murders. What's up, Dark Side? Yeah, open Delphi panels are just asking for it. Yeah, I didn't even realize there was a problem. Like, I was having a great time. Just shooting the shit, you know what I mean? I wasn't being too serious. And I'm used to Sterling coming at me, so I don't know what happened. You know, he kind of gets you on your toes. I like that. He's very confident. He also said he said, I'm not acting crazy. She said, you're not well in one of the calls, and he goes, I am well. And he sounded fine. He's like, I want you to know I did this shit. All right. Notable murder cases with attorney misconduct. None of these are matching our uneducated accusations of these two finely refined gentlemen you see on the screen, who are recklessly accusing of milking the cow. Hypothetically. All right, Ted Bundy case, 1970s. Context. Bundy, a serial killer, confessed to multiple murders. His defense team faced criticism for their handling of the erratic behavior and public statements, but there's no evidence they prevented confessions. Attorney issue. Some attorneys were criticized for enabling Bundy's media interactions, not for stopping confessions. No formal discipline was reported for blocking a confession. Relevance. Bundy confessed willingly, so this doesn't align with the query. How about the O.J. Simpson case? 1994 to 1995. Simpson's defense team, led by Johnny Cochran, if it don't fit, you must acquit, faced public scrutiny for their aggressive defense tactics. Simpson did not confess, and the defense focused on reasonable doubt. No attorneys were disciplined for preventing confessions, as Simpson maintained innocence. Ethical debates arose over evidence handling, not confessions. Excuse me. Alton Logan case, 1982 through 2008. Logan was wrongfully convicted of murder. Another client confessed to the crime to his attorneys, who remained silent due to attorney-client privilege, allowing Logan to stay in prison for 26 years. The attorneys faced ethical dilemmas for not revealing the confession to protect their client's privilege, not for blocking their client's desire to confess. No formal discipline occurred, but the case sparked debate about privilege versus justice. So that's pretty similar. So this involved attorneys withholding a third party's confession, not their own clients. Let's see. Nix versus Whiteside, 1986. A murder case where the defendant wanted to testify falsely about seeing a gun to claim self-defense. His attorney refused to allow perjured testimony and threatened to withdraw. So the client was trying to coerce his attorneys to kind of do his bidding, right? But while doing that, they knew he was full of shit. It's kind of a reversal, right? The U.S. Supreme Court upheld the attorney's actions, ruling that preventing false testimony does not violate the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. The attorney faced no trouble. The case set a precedent that attorneys cannot assist in perjury. So that's more about preventing false testimony and not a genuine confession. Ooh, Mark, shout out to you. Shout out to YTU. I don't know about that poll. How about the defense effed up? Did they see an easy win only to be hit with the confessions? Seems they didn't prepare as well as they should have. So I guess the question is, did they intentionally go in the direction that they did to prolong the case, knowing that if they just supported his need or want to confess, they wouldn't be able to milk the cow. So everything was like, hey, we don't want this guy to confess. Otherwise, the gravy train is over. That's the brakes. I don't want to put on the brakes to the gravy train. So that's really what we're asking here. Did they milk little Ricky even though he wanted to confess? You think that if somebody wants to confess, they would just facilitate that. Like, all right, if that's the direction you're going and you really did this, maybe we can work out a deal. That means that you probably have a lot of information that they don't have. We can use that to get you a lower sentence. They didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I just feel like they just kept pushing everything further and further away. They didn't even go, with the speedy trial. Everything was extension after extension after extension. Interception. Welcome in, Jay Ray. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. I'm still confused, Big Fish. I have no clue. I thought we were having a great conversation. It was getting a little ridiculous, but, I wasn't the one that was focusing on the ridiculous part. I was just trying to add, keep the stream going. Like, hey, there's this fucking thing. And instead of just kind of looking at it, talking about it briefly, some people got obsessed with it. It was really weird. I just hope I'm not the one to blame. Andrew, Sleuth Intuition looks like Bridge Guy. You know what's funny? It's because I am 5'6". I have really broad shoulders, a big head, and little chicken legs. So it's funny that you say that. Because the fact that you think I look like Bridge Guy, I kind of have the body shape of Richard Allen. Broad shoulders, big head, and then these little tiny legs. Only difference is I don't wear a size 6. Thanks, Big Fish. We're all Bridge Guy. We're all Richard Allen. Yeah, that's true. You wouldn't be the first one to say something stupid like that. You know how if I could count, how do they say that? Oh, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said that, I'd be a millionaire. Sleuth looks like the Bridge Guy. Oh man, that's original. Never heard that one. What are your allegations here, Sleuth? I got here an hour late, so sorry. These are not allegations. Don't you put those words in my mouth. This is a hypothetical, and I already admitted it's probably unfair, but we're more just investigating the possibility. Now, if you go to the poll question, did they milk little Ricky even though he wanted to confess? So if you notice, he comes in, his second phone call to Kathy, He's like, babe, I need you to know this. And he's totally calm. Like, I need you to know I killed Abby and Libby. You know, did you tell mom? Did you talk to mom about it? I told her. Can I talk to dad? Like, he wants to tell everybody because he's planning to take his own life. He's like, it's going to be the last time I see you. And if you go back to the testimony of Dr. Walla, that's where you'll learn about that. The timing coincides, you know. So he was wanting to take his life, and I think he thought he was going to have an opportunity to do that. I think he was planning it all out, and he thought he was going to, but they made it hard. That's what people don't realize. If he was in county jail, he would have been able to probably successfully take his own life. But nobody cares about Rick Allen. You know, they only care about their argument. And they'll never concede to anything. Anything that weakens their argument, their ego will just not allow them to concede to it. But the truth is he was looking for a way to off himself. He was going to confess, but they wouldn't let him. He was calm, cool, collected. Like, hey, I did this. I can't face it, so I'm going to take my life. You know, this is probably the last time. I may only be able to see you one more time. He even asked her during one of the calls, like, are you thinking about taking your life? It's almost as if he was hoping for like some kind of Romeo and Juliet scenario. You know, like, we both have to. Like, no, motherfucker, go ahead and do what you got to do. And then in comes Brad and Andy. And that all changed, right? No, you know, no more confessions, none of this. He started acting really weird. Like, he started feigning. Even the doctor said he was feigning symptoms of illness. Let's go to Anna. As been said, the state doesn't pay well for defense. Therefore, state-paid attorneys don't work as hard as they could. I assume with or without confessions, they would get maximum payout. Well, no, the thing is, Anna, they're getting paid for their time. They're getting paid about 35, 40 grand a month. So if they only work for 1 month and then Richard Allen confesses, there's no more time to be paid for. Darkseid, right, with him talking, they knew wasn't much they could do for him, but the bullshit they went with was pretty ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think they did that knowingly, though, Darkseid? You know, did they do that with intent? Or were they literally trying to give the best defense for Richard Allen that they could, based on what they had, knowing it was an uphill battle? But when we listen to those calls now, it's as if he just wanted to tell the world, nobody will listen to me. Why will nobody be honest with me? He's like, I just want to, you have me in prison for these murders and I can't even tell it. Like, imagine how frustrating that must be. Calling the warden and being like, dude, I'll even tell the warden. Fishy, the defense both own their own practices. Their per hour cost was at a discounted rate, I believe they agreed to. I don't think they have a choice on that matter. But yeah, either way, it was a lot of money. And I think the longer they're in the game, the more money they make. The shorter the game, the less, you know, ultimately they're going to make. Not to mention the amount of free publicity on top of that, you know? I mean, that's priceless. Can't put a price tag on that. The amount of exposure. Anna says, Richard Allen was taken to court at some point and asked if he wanted to confess. He said no. I don't remember the source. Defense attorneys, I think, were not present. Yeah, it's just weird, you know. At any point in time, Richard Allen can say, hey, I want to sit down with 60 Minutes or Dateline or whoever. You know, what's her name? Susie Hendricks or McDonald, whatever. They could facilitate that. They could make that happen. If Richard Allen wanted to sit down and say, hey, look, this is why I'm innocent. This is the real story that happened. These guys are trying to frame me. There's nothing stopping him from doing that. Yeah, I'm short as shit for real. Sleuth, Shane, share some more of the documents that were just unsealed. Yeah, we're getting to that. We are at the top of the second hour, so that's how we're going to finish up. Let's just finish these notes here. Hypothetical scenario. An attorney might face a bar complaint if they coerced a client into not confessing. For example, through misrepresentation or threats, violating Rule 1.4 or Rule 8.4. So that's communication and misconduct. However, no murder cases are publicly documented for this exact issue. Ineffective assistance claims, for example, Strickland versus Washington, 1984, could arise if an attorney's refusal to let a client confess led to a worse outcome. But no murder case directly cites this. Now, here's the conclusion. No murder case explicitly documents a defense attorney facing legal or ethical trouble preventing a client's desired confession. So now that we got that out of the way, without further ado, might help if I actually share the screen. There we go. Can you guys even see that? Anna says, whatever anyone thinks about the defense, I think they believe Richard Allen is innocent. So if you guys haven't participated in the poll, that is one of the options. Baldwin was specifically asked that in an interview, like, hey, some people are saying that you wouldn't allow Richard Allen to confess so that you can kind of milk the process. He said that's preposterous. Or the benefit, in my opinion, I could have gotten him a better deal. Crime scene photos. Remember, they offered him a plea deal. They didn't give us the details of the plea offer, but Nick, in an interview, says that he did offer them a plea deal. Baldwin made it seem as if it was ridiculous, like it was a ridiculous offer. I wonder if it was better than 130 years. An interesting reply came from Rosie, the defense attorney, who quickly moved on. Do you believe Richard Allen's confessions, Rosie? Only Richard Allen knows what they are, if they are accurate or not. That's a good answer. Okay, so if you're just joining, the court previously sealed numerous court orders at the defendant's request regarding ex parte motions for funding filed December 8th, 2022, and granted December 12th, 2022. Appellate counsel has requested access to some of those pleadings and orders. Court grants appellate counsel's request to unseal the orders. Basically, these are all invoices and receipts of what the state of Indiana paid for Richard Allen's defense. And we're going to look at some of that. There's a lot here, so I don't know if we'll get to all of it. But just for an example, the court has considered the defendant's ex parte motion for public funding of expert services necessary to prevent an accurate defense, and having heard and considered the evidence taken at the hearing on January 13th, 2023, the court finds the motion shall be granted. Counsel ordered to submit invoices and the appropriate claims forms to the undersigned for approval and payment by the Carroll County Auditor. The court will authorize up to $6,000 for investigator services, including Matthew Hoffman, and up to $2,500 for paralegal and intern services. Court authorizes the defendant to expend $5,000 to retainer fee for the expert William A. Tobin. I don't even think he had an opportunity to testify. Remember, they didn't. I don't think they. Oh, did they? I can't remember. I thought they booted him out of there. He was going to discredit the tool mark evidence. Dave Duckwitz, 1,000% believe Richard Allen is being railroaded. All right. Go ahead and in the comments, just give me a few reasons why you believe that. We'll talk about it. Carol Miller, he was railroaded. I can't see it any other way. Okay. Go ahead and give me 2 of your top reasons why you feel that way. We'll explore it. Stephanie says, prayers for Abby and Libby's families. May God give them strength. Good comment, Stephanie. Thank you. J-Ray, do you believe the confessions, Anna? Plea deal. Whoa. Yeah, they offered him a plea deal. They did not take it. So me and Ruckus were right. You know, we talked about a plea offer. It's not our fault Richard Allen didn't take it. But they definitely offered it. Yeah, J-Ray, I thought Tobin was excluded. Yeah, he's still excluded, but he still did the work. It was still approved. He still did the work. He just wasn't allowed to testify during the trial. For whatever reason, I can't remember. Dark Side, I think a lot of juries get it wrong. I just don't believe that's what happened, you know, in this case. I mean, it's clear as day, guys. Some people, I think, are just susceptible to the manipulation of psychopaths. You know, they see Richard Allen putting on this character and they believe that character. You know, they're susceptible to his manipulation and his tactics. I don't know if I'd consider that a weakness, but I think in the true crime game, yeah, that's a fucking huge weakness. Because this place is filled with liars. And if you aren't able to decipher between somebody telling the truth and somebody lying, or somebody who might be trying to act a certain way to convince you of something, then you have a hard road ahead of you. But a lot of people, I think that's their problem. You know, these people that are supporting Brian Koberger, Richard Allen, Karen Reed. It's because when they hear these people and they see them talk, they literally believe them. Like they're susceptible to a liar's weaponry. They have no protection. I don't know why they're unprotected. That's just the way it is. Okay, we'll go through a couple more and then we'll get out of here. My breakfast is here, so let's go to this one here. Court authorizes payment to Brad Rosie for the cost of depositions in the amount of $6,209.44. Attorney's fees to date in the amount of $37,722 and administrative expenses in the amount of $4,800. Court authorizes payment to Andy Baldwin for administrative expensive $1,200. Attorney fees to date $21,000. Let's continue. The court has reviewed the submission by Attorney Baldwin requesting attorney fees, administrative fees, and investigator fees. Court takes the invoice submitted by Emergency Management Services of Indiana, LLC, under advisement and requests a detailed invoice. The submission of 1,125 hours from December 4th to August 12th for $16,000 is insufficient. So some of these are denied because they weren't detailed invoices. Therefore, court authorizes payment to the law firm of Baldwin, Perry, and is that Wiley PC in the total amount of $58,000. Oh, we're not done, guys. We're not done. Deposed by the bunch, $1,500. Court takes the invoice from Alvy for $16,000 under advisement. $948 for preparation of a transcript. $3,000 to Dr. Westcott. $7,000 to Dr. Westcott. Another $7,000. Suzanne Moeller, 26 hundo. Robert Scremin, including mileage, 4,100. $800 for transcription services. Ooh, here's another big payday. Court authorizes attorney fees and mileage to the law firm of Baldwin, Perry, and Wiley from August 24th to October 19th, $49,000. Right? So this is for August 24th and October 19th. If they weren't on the case between then and there, they wouldn't have received that. Administrative expenses, $2,000. Amanda says, rather than framing a guy because they needed to nail someone, it looks to me like the state had a rough narrative into which they could insert Richard Allen. His activities that day checked enough boxes. And I think that's what law enforcement does a lot. They're like, it's not for us to decide. You know, this is the way they scapegoat it. Like, hey, we're not falsely accusing this guy or framing him. All we've done is gathered this information, and now we're presenting it to the prosecutor. It's the prosecutor that's going after Richard Allen. You can't hold it against us. You know, I think that they do kind of scapegoat that. So I think you're right, Anna. Did they do it deliberately? Possibly. Did they get away with it? Did they railroad a guy? I don't know. I don't trust our justice system. I'll agree with that part. Yeah, this is not everything that they were paid. This is a small part of it all. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on. William Labredo, $22,000. Suzanne Moeller, $2,700. You know, it's just check after check after check after check. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Can Richard Allen post on YouTube and stuff from his tablet in prison? I'd swear some comments are from him or his wife. Maybe the wife. Shit, maybe even his attorneys. I've wondered if the jury kicked the can down the road wasn't a DP case. Defendant would live to fight another day, and jurors wouldn't in turning loose a heinous killer. Yeah, I think you're right. That's kind of what happened with Karen Reed. Or not Karen Reed, I'm sorry. Casey Anthony. They put the death penalty on there and she walked free. I think you're right. Yep, 2,200. No, I think that's just like part of his payment. I think he got more than that. Let's continue on. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of pages. Let's see. Court authorizes payment of attorney fees in the amount of $20,000. And that's only for October 4th through August 11th. Court authorizes payment in the amount of $19,000. if it wasn't Richard Allen, then who could it have been? Yeah, that's why it's good to have an alternative suspect, like a legit one. Mark, no, of course that's not the Rixnay. Don't worry, I got him out of here. Sorry, we don't allow impersonators here. I mean, to be honest, the idea milked it for worse. I think they were okay. Anna says, always bugged me that state wants us to believe only offender plus 2 victims were present during the crime. 200-acre trail system is too big for anyone to know exactly who was there and where. I agree with that. I think the state only presented what they could prove. You know, they were like, we don't know what happened after the kidnapping. We can only surmise. But what we're planning to prove is that Richard Allen is the bridge guy. And I think they did that. I feel like I don't have any doubt in my mind that he's the guy on the bridge, right? But that's really it. Don't worry, it's not really him. Monthly salary, $15K. So that track. Yeah, it does track. I think the only question is, I don't think there's anything wrong with the amount of money they got. I think the only question is, did they prolong the process so that they would continue receiving these large payments? Maybe to them they're not large, but for the state of Indiana, they're large. You know what I mean? A lot of needy people in Indiana who could really use that money. The question is, did they ignore their client so that they could prolong the process and make more money while getting that priceless exposure to their firms? I mean, that's the real money there. Let's go to this flex. One of the biggest flexes I think I've seen so far. The amount of money the lawyers and defense experts, sorry, I have a fly buzzing around my head, took from the taxpayers to defend a self-confessed child killer is insane. That's a lot of money, guys. A lot of money. Yep, same thing goes for that side, the prosecution side. I think there was a breakdown of it. A lot of money. Here, let me see if I can find that answer. It says here trial cost taxpayers $2.5 million and counting. And that was as of December 17th. Jeez. Let's see. The prosecution spent over $447,000 of that. Most of that being spent on attorney fees. Those fees totaling just over $306,000, with special prosecutor James Luttrell being paid nearly $140,000 and prosecutor Stacy Diener getting $97,000. Damn. The exact amount is estimated to be. Wait, the Delphi murders trial has cost Carroll County, Indiana taxpayers over $2.5 million. This includes expenses relating to prosecution, defense, jury costs, and courthouse security. The exact amount is estimated to be $2,588,566.62. Damn. That's so much money. All right, guys, this will be our 5-minute warning. If you think I missed anything or there's anything else you want to touch on, and now would be the time. I did not have breakfast, and I had a large coffee on an empty stomach, so I need to go eat my breakfast burrito. But I plan on jumping on again a little bit later, guys, for a quick check-in. And we can just focus in on the chat at that time. But before we do, special thank you to Avala, Tam B. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, She Warrior, for the flex. Flexing that Sleuth Crew bicep. Appreciate you. Rescue all the dogs. Thank you for the super chat. And Diamonds with the super flex. She's got them both up. She can't even scratch her own back. The biceps are too big. Yeah, I need my nom-noms. Let's close out that poll before we get out of here. All right, if you guys want to vote, do it now. Question is, did they milk little Ricky even though he wanted to confess? 69% of you right now say they have proven to be unethical. So you think it's not beyond them. Some of you said no. Defending oneself is expensive. Human frailties, what can you do? Kind of goes hand in hand with option one. They cared for Ricky, not the money. 12% of you said agreed with that. So make sure you guys vote. I'm going to close it down. Oh, I love crepes. I'm Norwegian, so I love them. IHOP has great breakfast crepes. Their biscuits and gravy are pretty good too. I'm kind of a biscuits and gravy snob. I will admit that. Do you even biscuits and gravy, bro? Big Money Latrell. Oh, man. Anna Lisette, I'm being facetious. They don't care about him one bit. All about the Benjamins, baby. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Is that Puffy and Mace? S car go, my car go. Yeah, I got beans, potatoes, eggs, and cheese. And then a bag of jalapenos and carrots on the side, and 3 hot salsas. I'm stoked. J-Ray, what have they done that makes you think they don't care about him cheeks? Oh, yeah. Is there anybody out there that does not like biscuits and gravy? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I do like pancakes. Blueberry pancakes are the shit with some strawberries and some whipped cream and shit ton of syrup. But I'm not a huge fan. I wouldn't call myself like a pancake snob or anything. Yeah, that's what Jinxie said. I'll have to make her prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. Hey, Robin B. Can't put butter on a crepe and biscuits aren't sweet. I butter my crepes. What you know about that lesfa? Griddle cakes. Gotta have them. Taters. Oh, that sounds yummy. I've made bread out of lentils and garbanzo beans. Came out really good. Spud studs as fuck. Julia, gang. Hey, Mark, thank you. I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you. With some hash browns and a little bit of Tabasco sauce, a little sprinkle. I like to douse them in pepper too. Yeah, waffles are good. I like chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles and a nice mimosa. That goes down pretty good. Pickles. Hey, Cindy. Pickles is bread. Trying that soon. The hell? How does that work? Denny's or IHOP? Denny's or IHOP? That's another good poll right there. Denny's or IHOP? All right, guys. Well, thank you for all of you who were able to catch the live stream and participated in the chat. Thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Rest in peace to Abby and Libby. We know you're out there. We know you're happy. Big shout out to their families. Hope you guys are starting to heal. Probably not yet, but our hearts go out to you guys. Everybody who continues to support my channel, you guys have no clue how much it means to me. Those of you who support the Cash App, the Venmo, the Zelle, those of you who have chosen to become members of my channel, who support it, all of my mods, you guys work really hard. Thank you so much. I couldn't do any of this without you guys. You make it possible. I'm just here. I'm just the guy who controls the channel, but it belongs to you. And hopefully I'll see you guys a little bit later. Take care.